Good afternoon. Welcome to the FTD University webinar titled Stay on Trend to Capture Customers. With the American Floral Trends Forecast 2016-2017 hot off the presses, FTD Education Consultant and Creative Director of the forecast, J. Keith White, AIFD, will share a comprehensive review of the top 4 trends and color palettes beneficial to purchasing and merchandising. Additionally, Keith will show you how to use the forecast for floral designs, merchandising, and other elements to drive local business. As partner and design director of A&K Productions, a special events company, Keith is known for his floral vision and extraordinary designs. No stranger to news media, Keith's programs and projects have been covered by broadcast, internet, and print journalism for more than 3 decades. Sponsored by FTD, his masterful designs on the official vehicles in the annual Rose Parade have been viewed by millions. Once Keith is finished with his presentation, we will open the webinar up for questions. If you have a question, simply type it in that question box on the upper right side of your screen. Feel free to submit your questions during the presentation, and we'll hold them until the Q&A portion of the webinar. So without further ado, I would like to turn the call over to Keith to begin the webinar. Keith?
Janet, thank you so much, and welcome to the American Floral Trends Forecast 2016, which is produced biannually by Florist Review, and this is actually their 7th edition. And before we proceed with the 4 trends, I'd like to share a little bit of the background information on probably your question. Number 1 is, how do they come up with all this stuff? And believe me, it's research and gathering of information, and it's in a range of 8 to 12-month period is how all the information is accumulated. And we take important directions not only from the home furnishings industry, fashion industry, major showings not only in Europe but in the American markets, and then compile all this information together, filter it through, and then figure out how is this going to translate into the floral industry. With sponsors like the California Flower Commission, we go into fact of what is grown locally here in America, what is being produced, and of course the new varieties that are available, which leads into basically arrangement styles of these particular flowers that are grown. Also with Design Master, which has been a crucial part in the American Floral Trends Forecast this go around, Gretchen has been instrumental not only with collaborating with us on producing new colors, even in their Ubermat line, and then with Lion Ribbon, all the textiles and fabrics that are available to them, and new products like Sunbrella, which Sunbrella has been advertising heavily in publications, and also NAPCO for their wide assortment, not only of containers, but some accessories. And then Smithers Oasis, not for just floral foam and shapes, but all the accessories they provide us that are additions to the floral industry. And this is all with the goal of helping you select, design, merchandise these products with greater knowledge to capture those customers. Remember, knowledge is profit. Our first trend that I'm so excited to unveil this to FTD audience, especially on this FTD webinar, is called Luxe Avenue. Not to coincide with the feature that's shown, but this is the current exemplification of a high-end urban elegance and formality just tempered with a comfortable casualness that is in harmony with today's lifestyle. So if you can see the FTD Luxe Collection bouquet here, it's gracefully, I say, arranged and within groupings of these exuberant colors in full chroma. Design Master colors that were chosen were also inspired not only for this full hot chroma colors, but the citrus and berry inspired, like raspberry and mango. The accent colors being brought in are floral friendly names, the peony, the violet, and spring green. So you can see the background of this has the Lion Ribbon Sunbrella fabric in it, also with a hint on the sidebar of the Oasis embossed gold flat wire to it. Botanicals in this Luxe Avenue, the primary florals are full, lush, luxurious, exuberant, and voluptuous. So you can see the artisan roses play an important role, dahlias, the twist with throwing in those bright fuchsia phalaenopsis orchids, a twist of maybe a pincushion, protea in it, Bluepernum giving that little bit of acid green to it, the pop, and also the consistency of being so traditional, the boxwood. Elements that are playing roles in here are basically not only the floral, but the other elements that all combine in the Luxe Avenue trend are predominantly orange hues. But again, I mentioned that accent of apple green, lemongrass, and gold metallic. In the element situation, throughout Luxe Avenue, we find classical elements, shapes and patterns, contemporized to define this artful, sophisticated trend. In our research and pulling together information, you see a bar in there called lacquered furniture, and you're going, how does this pertain to flowers? Well, one of the things with our studies was the major American furniture manufacturers, really high-end furniture, are offering painted woods, and their number one choice was the white lacquered. So that's where we felt white lacquered, and you can see the white lacquering playing an important background color, just like the bright fuchsia or the wild plum foreground in the photograph. So again, Asian accents play that portion, and now you can see in this particular photograph how the white is so predominant. But again, it's an accent. It does not become part of that floral product. And the combination of the gold accents, it still has that youthful vibe, but it still transcends many generations. FTD offers an today already, and right on trend with some of the FTD exclusives. As you can see, the bouquet to the left has the rich color palette with the predominantly orange hues accented by a little bit of green. The other photograph on the right-hand side has the purple toned vase with some of the pinks and oranges combined in it. This really gives you that freedom to move around a palette and move around in the trend and not have to have one of every item in that particular trend. So that's what I want you to keep in mind going through each one of these trends, is how you can combine different colors together and not have to use them all at once. And, of course, star power. I have to thank Taylor Swift last week for coming out on the red carpet at the Grammys to say, nail that one. She came out with this incredible attire with, I call it raspberry and mango, of course, and this hit social media the minute she walked out. So that's why trends are so important, and especially the trend report that I'm presenting today, because it is so right on with what is happening. And then what happens with social media, this spreads like wildfire, and young people are drawn to all of this. And so not only look for this in wedding, but proms coming up, and then of course everyday style of living. So always remember those star powers of what they can do to our industry and floral. Park Manor is the next trend, which really embraces century-old patterns, shapes, and designs from world cultures. Kind of think of it as like the American farmhouse, Moroccan, and Asian all grouped together. The bouquet featured here is from the FTD Luxe collection, and it's a simple bouquet. Macara orchids and the pincushion proteas, just literally casually, and that's what the word is, casually placed within a blue toned container. The blue is the most favored of the color families, and it's at its apex of interior decor and is the foundation for this trend. The blue base style welcomes other hues like beach which is a brand new color also, sprout, light ochre, and that touch of gold is once again prevalent in the marketplace. You notice the Medellina sticks, the cork background. Stained glass is going to have a little bit of influence. Not only the glass itself, but it's more or less patterns and textures that are going to play an important role in Park Manor. Botanicals that are combined in here in this particular trend of Park Manor really are like country garden styling. What I like to call, and I think the buzzword around is called fresh picks. And when you pull these fresh pick things, which include foliage, ornamental grasses, produce, branches, and vines, and when I say produce, it's not everything at the supermarket, but things that are available to us as florists, like the artichokes and the wide variety of kale that's being produced for us to use in floral design now. Of course, those blue flowers, and I go, florist fear, hybrid delphinium, iris. The list is very small, and I can't go on with that list, but we know the fact that people come in and want blue weddings and blue this, but it's how to combine other materials, florals, other products that will give them that blue shading. Again, use the term background, and those are main backgrounds from royal, cobalt to midnight. The elements you can see here are shown with ribbon, basic damask pattern, blue and whites. Also, the watermark pattern, showing a highlighter, an accent of yellow. The foreground fabric, which is has a touch of green in it. So that green accent still is an important role. But you can see all the ribbon is placed upon natural woods. So when we're combining things not only for display in our store, but settings, things that are happening, and then you want this particular look, remember natural aged woods are perfect for this. I mentioned cork. It's kind of one of those funky things that are floating around and will become a portion of this. But remember, iron and bronze are perfect matches also to this Park Manor trend. And blend of raw organic materials, handcrafted items. Handcrafted was one of those other key terms that you're welcome to use. The Paris show portrayed this as really artisan made items. So when I say handcrafted, I don't mean homemade. And so I think you get that feeling of composite pieces that might be made, like the little container in there bound with rope, the elegant bulb-shaped form vase, and you can see the matte finishes that are brought in, not only with the glassware from Oasis, but just even the hobnail piece from Napco up front, with the really matte, dulled finish to it. The farmhouse color table. Park Manor, it truly is a lifestyle, and in blue and white patterns are just veil in this particular trend, along with the bronze and aged metals. One thing too, the lanterns, you can see the metals that are being used on there, that aged patina feeling in this. The containers, the natural woven materials, almost relates to the larger design of kind of a free-form casualness of floral materials put together. The actual artwork in the background is another sunbrella fabric and ribbon from Lion ribbon that was used. So think of different creative ways that items could be used not only for display in the shop, but how to get the point across. Again, casually appointed flowers like the tulips and the smaller blue vase. With FTD exclusives, you can see to the left the Moroccan-inspired lantern container in blue, with, again, more of a casual design, with the daisies, the Matsumoto asters, some iris, placed in there. But look at the arrangement to the right also. You can see that very Moroccan pattern in the container with that accent of green. And then the green carries through in the design with the little button palms. And that's all it takes is to tie the whole grouping together. A casual kind of an arrangement put in almost a formal type of vase. So that's what you're going to see throughout Park Manor trend. Pearl Lane, gotta love this one. It's a multiple personality. Don't we all have that in common? Who are we today? What's our job today? What are we doing today? But this versatility spans not only from homespun and casual to fun and funky and to formal and elegant. The bouquet shown is from the FTD Luxe collection, and the design is very formal, very elegant. You can see the container from the pearl gray and white pattern, classic motif pattern, to the elegant lilies and the off-white roses that are combined in here. Colors that were brought into play, again, I have to say we nailed this one because this was basically in print prior to Pantone announcing their colors of the year for 2016, which is Rose Quartz and Serenity, if you haven't heard by now. And so we had all this going on, but we just knew in our hearts, in our research, and our development that these colors were here and they were going to be one of the greatest and powerful trends within the four combinations. So you can see the color mist relates to serenity, but also blue sky relates to serenity. So always remember that the hues of blue can vary slightly. Also, perfect pink is the rose quartz. And imagine that. We shot this literally on rose quartz background. And so you can see the variations of pink, and that's what I want you to remember too. Not only can the colors vary slightly from paint colors into floral materials, but this brings in the fact of not a free use of botanicals, but how you can combine different shades, hints, and tones of botanicals together in pink shades to make it all work. So remember, think rose quartz, all dusty and muted shades of pink and blues, but again, that gray accent. Perfect one is like Dusty Miller to bring into this play of a beautiful combination of materials. The elements, I used to always say, let's combine burlap and velvet together and make a statement. So this time around, my new term with everything is let's use textured stone meets lace. As you can tell in here, it's a great yin and yang combination. The luster on things is toned down a little bit, so you can even see the rhinestones play a part, and I say a part, more of a portion now. Bling is going to be going away a little bit, along with mason jars, we hope, and you're going to get a little bit of shimmer into ribbons, and it's a beautiful, soft, muted, and a little bit complex on how all the colors and textures can be put together. So keep an open mind when doing this, but the elements are basically 1950s vintage style, and so that mid-century modern appeal is for the modern era. And we're looking at hammered metals. Again, frosted and translucent glass from Oasis is a prime example of what can be done nowadays with it. I mentioned the linen and lace is great. Pearls and crystals all brought into play. And those of you that remember Leave It to Beaver and June Cleaver with her pearls on, even when she was doing dishes, here's a montage to the modern day June Cleaver and the actual floral jewelry brought in with some of the Oasis product, the pearls, the flat wires, the Metalino sticks. But you can see now a new modern twist on an old statement of pearls, bringing in the Phalaenopsis orchids, the callas that are brought into here. And we're going to see more and more floral jewelry, really these art pieces that are made for either weddings, proms, and they're money makers. The profitability is there if you have the techniques down. So look at those and see how you can develop different ways of combining these materials to create these profitable products. And the design itself, the casualness, you see the garden style, and just the whole casual placement of the floral materials. Beautiful garden roses in the smaller case of sugar container. You see a new hydrangea that'll be on the market. Don't expect it in thousands of stems at a time, but it's a great new product. So one of the things too with the FTD exclusives being offered today is, and for you and your customers, is how to portray these into not only sellability, but into a website form that you can kind of group and cluster these together on your website as a trend pattern. Look at the container on the left-hand side, the rose quartz container with the diamond pattern, very retro of that 50s and 60s era pattern. But you can see the yellow being tucked in. A little bit bright, the solidago, gives the arrangement a lift. You look at the next arrangement to the right, and the beautiful kind of blue teal container, and that teal always has an important role in different trends too. We can't get away from that color. And the flowers are very monotoned, and the lilies and the roses. But then look how beautiful that pale, pale stalk just makes everything pop. So remember to use kind of a combination of products to be able to make that soft, muted tone come to life, really, when you're doing it. If you are in the bridal business or wedding business, things that you're going to be doing with that, bridal fashion statements, it's there. This particular dress was presented on the runway about a week ago from Marquesca Couture, and you can see the muted shades of pink. Brides have been asking for peach and peach and peach and peach, but be ready to and prepared to show them these particular palettes of all the different shades of pink that are available now. And on to our last trend, Casa Tropicana. It's that vibrancy of tropical Latin America. And I have to say, Havana meets Hawaii and Haight-Ashbury. And for those of you who don't know what Haight-Ashbury is, it's a neighborhood in San Francisco that was big in the 70s and 60s and 50s of hippies, beatniks, should I go any further. But anyway, it's that whole twisted sister combination of colors. It's truly a palette that's for floral accents. And this is one of the things, thinking of trend colors, is, oh my God, here's these trend colors, I've got to match flowers to them. No, think of it as floral accents and not floral matches. One of the brand new colors that were just introduced, we got it just in time, the true sample for print, was bluegrass, the mid color in there, and it's called bluegrass with the number of 562. Design Master developed this particular trend. So it's very cool, and again, these are the latest things out there in the marketplace for you to learn today, and again, to capture that customer. The Botanicals, I have to say, mix is crucial to the look. And a medley of flower types, sunflowers to orchids to succulents. The mini callas play an important role in here. Gerbers, mini gerbers, zinnias, all combined together to create this really electric palette. In elements, it's kind of the background of this seems, again, a little twisted, but a little, I want to say, woven. all these are different patterns of lion ribbon that were woven together to create this background. And you're probably looking at it like, is this one piece of fabric? And what do I see here? You see the trend itself. Floral on floral on floral on floral. Must I go on? They all coincide together. And it has that 1960s, 1970s kind of DNA brought into it. So you got to love it. It's very youthful. It's bold, but yet you want to think about today's happenings. Recycle glass, eco-friendly, the keywords repurpose, age metals. So again, age zinc is probably one of those important elements that are being brought into this particular trim. So the darker the background, again, on here, so we're seeing deeper, richer, dark backgrounds brought into at least two of the trends so far. I said bold and energetic, happy and youthful, soulful and artistic. It's very urban. So when you look at the composition in this particular photograph, you can see the age zinc, succulents brought in, phalaenopsis against black, and purples. The actual skirt that was made of Metalino sticks on one of the most classical urn shapes. So it brings that modern influence and brings that youthful awareness into Casa Tropicana. The floral materials and combinations used in here, again, are not those color selective items that were shown in the actual paint color samples, but again, the vibrant colorations that are brought into. And if you've noticed through the past trends, yellow is one of those colors that's always being kind of touched upon or introduced into each one of the trends. So it's a slight hue or variation of yellow that goes into each one of the trends. But this particular one, the brighter, the bolder, the greener, the better off you are. So you want to think bright and consistency with this particular one. The FTD exclusives bring into play just this simple combination of mixed tulips. And you can see they're not all matched. And that's one of the things key with this element. Not everything is matched together. So I thought this was a great example to show you with the Casa Tropicana theme, is to keep things a little offset, a little bit different. And then the other particular vase, that aqua blue, here it appears again, is shown really more with a bohemian garden style design. Casual sunflowers, the yellow spray roses, few daisies tossed in there with that accent again of the mini carnation and the fuchsia color. So really to finish out the whole Tropicana style, this is a great exampling of, again, current items that are available not only through FTD exclusive to help you along with proceeding with trends, but it also helps you to review different items, and again, the webinar to go into play about what can I do next to make the trends. So review the webinar and look for it again, but also I have to give a special thanks to all these people for the assistance and the insight, from Fred at NAPCO, Michelle at Lion Ribbon, Charlie Groppetti from Park Hill Collection, Lynn Larry McLean, Court Schwanebeck from Acres Home and Garden out in California, Gretchen Sale, instrumental with helping me all along with Design Master and saying, do you think we can do this? And my answer was yes. And my answer to you is be confident in this. And just like Francis Dudley at Florist Review, going into this as creative director, I wanted to limit some of the colors for you. In the past, they've expanded and expanded. I brought them in, and I want to say, be confident with the trends. So again, Jack at Smithers Oasis, instrumental with getting me on different new products that are coming in line, and of course Matt Wood with Windward International for his not only fabulous sense of color and how to put things together over the 20-plus years he's been there with Windward. But one of the things to remember too, review the webinar. There's a lot of information in there, a lot of detailing that went into each one of the photographs that are presented in the brochure. The brochure is available from Florist Review online, and print copies are available for purchase from Florist Review. Very cheap too, very, very reasonable. I hate to use the word cheap, but very reasonable in quantities too. But again, the webinar, it will be available for you to view at ftduniversity.com. The handouts for this are available at ftdi.com, ftduniversity/webinar-materials.htm. And if you have any questions that you either can't get in today or you think about it as you review this, shoot me an email and I'll be glad to answer it for you. So my email is jkeithonline@att.net. And I would like to thank FTD for this opportunity, not only to be able to present this brand new material to FTD members as part of the ongoing education process that's so important to all of us as florists. And I just want you to remember August 16th is the next webinar I'll be presenting on maximizing your merchandise potential. And remember, that's the one to sign up for the makeover. So without anything else to say except have fun with the trends and make them work for you. If you use just a couple in your store, or see what you can do with them. Move and push merchandise around so you can make it current. So now I'd like to turn this over back to Janet Justice for questions. And again, thank you for joining in today, and we'll answer your questions shortly.
Thank you, Keith, for sharing a lot of great information on those new fun trends for the next 2 years. That's really exciting. As Keith mentioned, we are now open for questions. So if you have a question, simply type it in that question box on the upper right side of your screen. We do have a couple of questions. Christina wanted to know, how do the Pantone colors differ from the American Floral Trends Forecast colors?
Well, when you think of colors and you start giving people color names, those are either trademark names. So Pantone basically has a trademark on their colors that are presented. And of course, if we take Pantone colors to any paint store, we can have anything matched to that color. We don't have to ever call it that color again. And so with the American Floral Trends Forecast colors, we wanted to keep it very floral oriented, and so Design Master is the color tool for florists to use. So that's why we particularly stuck with Design Master and those Design Master color numbers, so they're relatable to the floral industry.
All right.
Hope that answers your question, Christine.
Yeah. We've got another question. Aaron wants to know, how does this trend report differ from other trend reports that are out there?
Well, there's several things that are available within the industry, and some of them are not so floral specific. And with the American Floral Trends Forecast, when it was conceived literally through the California Cut Flower Commission, it was geared for every 2 years, and that has stayed intact because change yet. There's what I call trends and trendy. Some of the trends change really fast, meaning that trendy stuff. And so when we were instrumental in trying to pull all the trend reports together in a 2-year period, that's why it's 2016, 2017, this trend report is very solid, and it will last and will sustain the time for that particular 2-year period, where other trend reports are basically for the year. So by the time those trend reports come out, it's old hat, and ours has a longer I want to say shelf life literally on it, because even with the growers, and that's what we are, we're in the floral business, and we depend on what growers grow. And so with new plantings, new varieties, again, what is grown today for us has an important role in how to pull these colors and palettes together when we're developing the trend forecast.
All right. We've got another question from Todd in Virginia Beach. The cool hydrangea that you had mentioned, that new variety in the sugar dish, is that going to be around in local markets? Do you know, Keith?
That is actually from one particular grower in California, and I've already had the comment, where can I get it? I was just in California last week, so some people that were looking at it. So I'll check into that. Todd, if you don't mind shooting me an email, I either can give you that answer shortly. I put a request in about availability just to see how they're growing it. A lot of times with new varieties, they plant it, and it is so very limited. But I'll do a follow-up on you, because I have several people that are so interested in it, and it is a very cool hydrangea. It has a real spongy feeling to it, and it doesn't even look real. That's the bottom line. It's just very cool. Cool item. So again, Todd, shoot me an email at jkeithonline, and I'll know what you're asking about. Just put pink hydrangea question mark or something, and I'll send you the answer as soon as I find out this week about it.
All right, we've got a question from Glenn. How would you use, he's just kind of curious, how do we use those trends now that you've showed us all the really cool stuff, the colors that are out? How is he using that for merchandising in his shop?
Well, look at the pictures and the major lifestyle photographs, and then even look at the element photographs, and you can see how merchandise is brought together. And most people are using these trends, of course, for home settings and home decor pieces, but also how you can translate those colors and maybe the color palettes into either, if it's the wedding season coming up. Last week I did Pearl Lane in a whole display area for weddings. It turned out beautifully with this particular color palette. So what you need to do is look at the larger photographs and again the elements, and see how to combine either products together, things you might have or things that you're willing to purchase now that you see the trends, and pull these items together. And it's hard, because even like I mentioned, I'll go back to Pearl Lane. It has the frosted vase. Look at that. That's a basic element in a shop. But also look at FTD Marketplace, the containers that were shown, how to combine those and trends out on a shelf, group those together if you have those in your shop. So it's a way to look at it, but also look at wall colors. Again, the background colors that were used either as accents to create areas within your store. If you need the specific colors that were used in the trend catalog and brochure, I'll be glad to send those to you. If you want to literally copy some of the background colors, I'll be more than glad to do that for you. One thing also is just literally show the Design Master cans together in a grouping on a table with a colorful palette like Casa Tropicana, on showing here's these great colors, and here's the floral accents that work with them. Glenn.
Awesome. We have got a question from Ginny, kind of a two-part. She wants to know, should we use all the trends in the shop or just a few, kind of followed up with, or should you change them with the season?
I'm glad you asked that, Jenny. One of the things too, with the webinars that I have done in the past, and of course the one coming up in the future on August 16th, Maximizing Your Merchandise Potential, is who are you as a shop is the question that I need to ask, because if you has specified your shop, and I want to use like Last Shop Makeover, Wildflower. They were very on the, we kept it very sophisticated, but it was on the countryside of things, the more kind of a Park Avenue feel to it, but with a different color twist to it. So depending if that's your niche market, if you're staying, and I just want to say, if you're a Park Manor shop and you have that look, it's possible to combine other color palettes with that. So that's where I'm getting at is you can use all 4 trends and show them if you're an all-around shop, but if your customer base is so specified, or your look of your shop, of what people think of you as, if they think of you as Park Manor, then Luxe Avenue might be a little difficult to get away with. And it's just the same. If you're at a Luxe Avenue shop, are people going to relate to the farmhouse if you have that sophistication versus the farmhouse feeling? So again, yes, you're welcome to use all 4 trends. I know the past setup that I did this past week for merchandising and display incorporated all 4 trends, but they're an all-around place, and so they're not specific to one niche market. So again, Jenny, if you want to add into, is that the 2-part question? Like, I want to ask, who are you? And if you don't know who you are, attend the next webinar on merchandising, and we'll figure that out for you.
Jenny says thanks. We've got another question from Jim. He wants to know, have you tried the new Oasis spray paints? He saw them at a show and he wanted to try them. He said they look like they're carrying many of the same colors that you discussed today in the new trends. And then do these paints cover as good or better than other paints?
Personally, I have not used them readily. When we were working on the trends brochure, Design Master Color Tool has been the staple item for florists until Smithers Oasis just had introduced their paint colors. They were not ready when we were in production for everything on this particular trends palette and brochure. So what I've heard is, and what I've seen too, there are colors that are similar, but their colors are a little bit different than what Design Master has to offer. So depending on what you're spray painting is the key. I know Design Master has paints for different applications, and they work differently on different materials. So my suggestion to you is, like me, I tried a couple of them and to see how they work and see how they work on flowers. Someone told me it didn't work quite right on a flower, but they were using basically their full loaded spray paint and not a sheer tone color. So again, maybe I've tried some of the ice colors, which I really like in there. So again, it's such a new product, and I have not been able to test it as much as I would like. So I need to have them send me some for test samples.
Great. Thank you so much, Keith. It looks like we're out of questions for now. If anybody has a question, like Keith mentioned, his email address is on the screen right now, jkeithonline@att.net. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions afterwards. But I just want to thank everybody for attending today's webinar. If you missed a portion of the webinar, or if you would like to view it again, there was a lot of great information there. We will have a replay available at FTD University Online later this week. The webinar materials are always available there at ftdi.com. Just click on the FTD University logo on the bottom of the homepage and then click through to that webinar series page. We will be sending you a very brief survey to gather your feedback on today's webinar. Please complete the survey. We would ask you to do that. Help us improve future webinars and other education programs for you, our member florists. The next FTD webinar is scheduled for Tuesday, April 12th. Krista Naher, CEO of Bootcamp Digital, will discuss how to grow your business on Instagram, which is the fastest growing social network and now one of the largest, especially in the floral industry. She'll teach you how to build an Instagram following for your business, as well as share the tips and tricks to get the most out of Instagram. Registration is already available at ftdi.com, so please be sure to register as soon as possible to reserve your spot. Again, Keith, we want to thank you for sharing a lot of great information on the American Floral Trends forecast for 2016-2017 and how to use that to forecast to drive local business. This concludes FTD's webinar, Stay on Trend to Capture Customers. Thank you.